We have breaking news for you right now here on the Joy News channel. We understand that the president has assented to the controversial subject of the E-Levy. The bill is now law, so officially that will mean that you'd have to raise up for more. 1.75% is the rate. We'll be getting some details for you. Kweku Asante is with the Joy News team, has details of this for us. Kweku, give us some updates on this. So Kweku will be joining us shortly on this. We have pictures on your screen right now as you have it on the Joy News channel. We're bringing that to you right now. The president there signing the E-Levy bill into law. So what it practically means is that you now have to make payments, and that would definitely mean more cost for you. Kweku will be joining us to give us some updates on that, and then we'll definitely fill you in on what's happening right now as far as the bill is concerned. Kweku is here, fortunately, to give us some updates. Kweku, so what do we know? What more do we know about what's happening today with regard to the bill?
So we know that when the bill was passed by Parliament, Parliament wanted to satisfy itself that all the amendments that had been done to the bill would be inculcated into the new bill before it would be sent to the president. And because of the State of the Nation address yesterday, that was not done. But so today, all these changes have been made into the bill, and we understand that the president got that on his table, and as soon as he did, he signed it into law. We know that today government has a big cabinet meeting, and so I'm sure this will feature prominently. And so the president, Akufo-Addo, just like you said, the breaking news just coming in, the president has assented to the E-Levy bill that was passed to Parliament. So it's now law. That bill is currently in force, and so it's expected to take effect. We know that the finance ministry says the bill is supposed to take effect from May.
Right.
All right. And the telcos themselves say they have some challenges in terms of its practicality.
Yeah,
so,
and then the whole thing affecting their system. Initially, I was indicating that it was 1.75, but I need to state right now that some amendments were made
and so,
on the floor of the House. So that will now mean 1.5%
E-Levy
rate. So that's what it will mean now.
That is the key amendment that was done to the bill. And the finance minister himself was the one who moved the motion in Parliament for that to take effect. It was carried. Of course, the minority had then walked out of the House, and so their views were not taken into consideration at that level. But Parliament as a whole approved that, and so those were the key amendments that were done. And so what we know is, as soon as this hit the table of the president, and we know government has said that this is a very, very important revenue measure, and so they signed it right into law. And so the telcos chamber, like I was saying, Ken Ashigbo was on PM Express yesterday, and he had some concerns about the 1 month frame. Today is 31st. If you're expecting that the E-Levy bill will take effect 1st May or the first week in May, that means you have around 1 month to do all the tinkering with the systems to be able to ensure that this goes on smoothly.
Kweku, the GRA is telling us that at least they've set up their system. That would definitely mean that once the bill is mature, whatever it is, whatever constitutional processes we need to fulfill, once that is done, they'll move into action.
Right, and we know that the Ghana Revenue Authority had primed its systems up, waiting for the approval. Way back in January, February, they had started talking to the banks and other stakeholders to ensure that they start preparing themselves. And so on the angle of the GRA, I know that they've done some preparatory work to be able to do this. But the GRA will have to plug in with the telcos, because if it's the bigger part of this electronic levy bill has to do with mobile money. And so MTN, Vodafone, and all these other companies would have to prime their systems up, because there are a few other exemptions. For instance, if you transact below 100 cedis, it means you are not going to be taxed. The system has to be set to that effect. If you are transferring money from your bank account owned by you to your own account, we are told there's an exemption. If you are paying on Ghana.gov, you are paying taxes and other government revenue, you are not going to pay. And so the systems, the telcos need to put that in place. And they are saying that 1 month may be quite an ambitious plan. But of course, government would have to do all the thinking. But the other angle to this is that we know that the minority is in court.
I was just about bringing that up. Because that would be another potential challenge to the implementation of this law.
Because if Parliament is to hold or the Supreme Court is to hold that the bill was approved illegally, it will mean that it won't take effect if that is done within the time frame that we are considering. But yesterday, Mahama Yariga, the Boko Central MP, is one of the 3 named plaintiffs in the minority suit challenging the case in the Supreme Court. He was saying that he would have wished that the president would have held on with signing the bill into law. But obviously the president did not listen to that specific counsel. He has signed it into law. The minority are expected to go through the case in the Supreme Court, prove their case, and if the court finds reason in the arguments, will actually, I mean, as it were, declare the approval of the bill as null and void. And so all that will be done, but just that the president did not listen to their counsel to hold on to that.
Right, and if you're with us on the Joy News channel, we need to tell you this. The president has signed the E-Levy bill into law. So it's now official. 1.5% is the charge rate. And just gone by, you saw pictures of the president actually signing that piece of document. That would mean that you have to brace up. You will be paying more. We're not sure yet what the telcos will decide to do, as well or not they'll be taking a haircut. Quickly, right. That's one thing that should be on the lookout for.
That became a big issue because the telcos themselves said they were going to reduce their charges. We know that currently there's a 1%, 2% flat rate when you transact to a certain point. Are they going to reduce it? They said they were going to reduce 0.25. We don't know if they've had any conclusion with the finance ministry in terms of the negotiation. And so I'm sure this 1 month period will be the place for that kind of clarity. And today on our various news bulletins from Prime and Newsnight, we're trying to get some clarification from the finance ministry and the GRA in terms of some of these key issues. Right. Because the Momo agents have been speaking to us, and I've been speaking to the PRO of the Momo agents himself. He says that since Tuesday that the E-Levy bill was passed, there's been a tremendous amount of reduction in the way people come around. People have actually been withdrawing all their money.
And in fact, the data actually suggests that this started way back, about 3 months. So when the initial announcement was made.
And now that Parliament has passed, 70% of transactions, according to the Momo Agents Association, people who go to the various agents, they just go to withdraw their money because they don't want to be caught.
So the transaction that's happening now is the withdrawal. But if you look at it technically, that would mean that government's revenue measure could be affected.
Right, and also
because if you look at the terms of the bill, and now which is now technically law, withdrawals are not necessarily
so if you are
charged.
And that raises the question of education. A lot of people are going to withdraw, say, 70 cedis. That's all in the account. They don't know that if you are not transacting above 100 cedis, you are even exempted. So that education needs to go down. And some of the concerns you raised, and I know the Pulse did some data from previous days about how transactions are falling since the bill was introduced in Parliament and when the finance minister spoke about it in the 2022 budget. We know that in other places, Uganda and other places, when they introduced this bill, there was some tremendous amount of cuts in terms of the transaction value. A government expects $1.15 billion. That's around 7 billion Ghana cedis. Some have said, people like Bryce Simmons have said, that is overly ambitious, that government may not get that. And so they have to do some conservative figures. And so people are panicking and withdrawing all of a sudden. That will mean that government may not be able to get its target, and that will have some effects on government's revenue projection for the year ending 2022.
The telcos themselves have been speaking on this. They are assuring that funds are safe, but then it doesn't look like many of our out there are really responding to that. And in fact, you can see the data there indicating how fast of a declining rate
so if you look at the data,
the transactions on the mobile money platform is. So the data here, we have it quickly. Let's quickly run through it.
Right,
so you can see the trajectory from November, December,
January. You look at the data, and we had 18.3 million active mobile money accounts. It dropped to about 17.3 million in July 2021. Then it had been on the ascendancy through August to September to October, and now it's been falling. And so the peak period was around September 2021.
And the concern is that that period was a COVID period, right?
COVID period. So people were doing a lot of mobile money transactions
as well.
So 19.4 million accounts.
Necessarily with fiscal cash. And so that may have accounted for the sharp rise. But then right from November to December 2020.
2021 November, when the finance minister you see a downward spiral from 18 million subscribers to our 17.4 million in January.
Right.
All right. And we know that MTN themselves have spoken about how transactions on the mobile money, MTN mobile money, has gone down considerably. Look at the total value of transactions between June and January 2022. You look at it from 86.1 billion Ghana cedis the government were getting before the budget was announced in November. Look, that it's gone down to 76.2 billion Ghana cedis. And so there's been some considerable dive, the nose dive in that. And I'm not sure government is looking at this.
But many experts have been sharing differing opinions on this. The belief is that even if you shift out of the mobile money platforms, you still have cash in your hands. You deal with the banks anyway. That's a more efficient system where government could take its revenue. So is there really an alternative for those who are out there? I mean, someone who's considering relying on cash right now. Is that a viable option?
There really is. There really is, because if you look at the E-Levy, it's affecting transactions online. If you have a bank account and you go to the bank account to do a withdrawal, that is not affected by the E-Levy. So it means if I have, say, 5,000 cedis in my account and I go to withdraw that amount, put that on me, and doing transactions, it means I pay the ordinary taxes, the VAT, and all these other taxes that I have to pay, but I don't have to pay E-Levy. And so people have been looking at the data and say that if you wanted to send your grandmother in where do you come from?
Yeah, right.
So you want to send 5,000 cedis and you're paying 1.5% on 5,000 cedis and the charges. Some people have been doing calculation that says that taking a car from Accra station to the Volta region and back will cost you less. But of course, government has made the case that they need this revenue to be able to undertake all the developmental projects that they've talked about. And some have argued that you need to give government that benefit of the doubt. Let government do whatever it intends to do with the money. And then after some time, you can critique it.
Cool. I'm grateful. I mean, that's how scary it is. Regardless of whether or not you've paid on an earlier transaction, you will still have to pay anyway. The number of times you do the transactions is the number of times you'll be paying. Once you exceed that threshold of 100 Ghana cedi a day, and then the cumulative amount is 3,000
cedis. That is 100 cedis every day for a month.
So that's it for you. But we are giving you updates on that. The president passing the E-Levy bill now into law. Parker Wilson is joining us live from Parliament now to give us some updates. Parker, you're on phone, so tell us what's been the reaction in Parliament ever since this announcement. Parker, I'm asking about the reactions we are already getting from Parliament on this.
So, I mean, yesterday there was a caution from the minority to the president to hasten slowly in attempting to the bill, and the argument has been that assuming they are successful with the the approval of the levy by one-third majority out, what then happens? The deductions that have already taken place, are they going to refund the money to the individuals who have already been deducted or not? So to some of them, they are a bit surprised hearing the news that the president has sent to the bill. I have with me the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agaga. Briefly for me, sir, we are just hearing breaking news that the president has assented to the E-Levy bill. Now it's become a law, now it's in force. What's your initial reaction to this, sir?
Father, you have been reporting from this house for quite some time. This is not the first time this house has enacted the bill into law. Now, you will notice that in respect of this particular E-Levy bill, which we are now being told President has given his access so that it has become law, right? Is that the haste with which the presidency has always given access to bills?
Well, the government needs money to run the economy. You admit that the economy is on wobbling legs.
But this is a president who is a lawyer and knows very well that when judicial process have been set in motion, a writ was filed, it has been served. You must not do anything to compromise or prejudice the work of the courts. The president knows this too well. Are you alleging that what he has done may influence the judges in their... Absolutely. It is a bad... Because of serious allegation. Yes, and I'm saying this with the fear of contradiction. That it is a bad practice for the president who knows that the courts must be allowed to do, their work without any forms of interference, would do such a thing. He knows that following the alleged package, and we say alleged because we know what happened. There was a walkout, and our case is dependent upon the Supreme Court's own decision in the Justice Abdullahi case, that without one half of all members present and voting, the House cannot take a decision. We withdrew from the House, and you know the numbers of the majority side was not more than 136, and so they could not have taken a decision. So if the matter has been brought before the court, we all agree that the Supreme Court is the only body mandated to interpret the Constitution. Why is the president in this kind of heated case to give access to a bill, a law, the passage of which has been seriously contested? So it's being contested before the Supreme Court. So I think he wants to overreach the Supreme Court, and that would be very unfortunate. The president must allow the separate arms of government, the judiciary, to do its work as the body mandated to exercise some level of oversight over the legislature and even the executive. What he has done now has compounded matters. The passage of the bill we contend is unconstitutional. Maybe we should bring another fresh action to this time around, declare his assent to the bill as another act of would you consider illegality. How would you consider that? But I think what is even before the court is enough to undo what the president has sought to do.
Right, so thank you very much. So, Pleasant, briefly from the minority, it's describing the move by the president as unfortunate because, in their view, they think that what he has done, the president has done, could one way or the other influence the decision of the Supreme Court.
From Parliament, giving us the latest on this. We are taking a break now. Don't forget that we'll give you some updates in our subsequent bulletins. Stay with us.